Hello. As lockdown starts to ease, fingers crossed, and gigs start to be something that we think about doing again, I thought it was a good time to get my gear sorted out and put fresh strings on things and new batteries and generally get things ready for when I'm called to go and do a gig. One of the things was to get my little bag and to pack it. And so I thought it might be nice to share with you what I take in this little bag on a gig, why I have it, and whether you might have similar things in your bag or you might have other things I haven't. Let me know if you've got things you always carry that I haven't got in here. But let's have a dig in the bag and see what we've got. So first of all in here, in no particular order, just as they come out of the bag, a cloth. This is just a nice little microfiber cloth, which is great for wiping your instruments down, but also, get sweaty on stage. So cloth is a really handy thing to have. A little tin, and in my little tin are picks. Now, you may or may not know, but I often use thumb and finger picks, like banjo picks, on the ukulele. But I don't just play ukulele. A lot of the time people only see me at ukulele festivals, so I'm playing the ukulele. But I also play tenor banjo, 5-string banjo, various things. So I've got flat picks, finger picks, all the kind of things I might need on a gig in a little tin, so I don't lose them. So what else have we got in here? A torch. Very, very handy. Stages are dark places and you don't always want to be carrying your phone around with you or using up your phone battery trying to find something you've dropped. Torch is really handy, either on the stage or backstage, or you get out of your car at 2 a.m. to stop for a coffee and something falls out and you can't find it. Really useful. What else do we have? A vocal microphone. Now, most of the places that I tend to play have a PA and have microphones and have everything already set up. But I always carry one of these just in case. And particularly at the moment, people are very, very careful about sharing microphones. And even pre-COVID, using a microphone that 20 other people have had their mouth up against isn't really the best thing to be doing. So I carry one of those. That's a Shure SM58. I'm not endorsing any of the things in here particularly. They're things I've chosen because I like them, but I will tell you what they are just in case you're interested. So that's my vocal mic. I also have another little microphone in here. Now, tiny little one. I don't have pickups in my instruments. I don't plug them in. I play into microphones, and at many venues they'll have perfectly good microphones. But sometimes many of the microphones they have are vocal mics, which you can get by with a push pointed at an instrument, but I much prefer a small condenser microphone, and that's what this is. And this is a really good one for pointing at an instrument. This is a Lewitt LCT 040 match, and not only is it a really nice sounding mic, it's so small that I can tuck it even in the little cupboardy thing inside your hard case or in the pocket of a ukulele case. So that one goes everywhere with me. Of course, if I am going to bring microphones, as I said, usually they have mics at these places, but it's always good to have a microphone cable. I don't carry 2 as a rule unless I know I'm going to be using my own microphones, because most venues will have these, but you never know. It's always good to have one. Right, what else have we got in here? Dig deep in here. Oh, camera. So in here I've got my GoPro, which is a very handy little camera for grabbing bits of gigs, just picking up stuff from when you're on the road. If I'm playing a lot more, at the moment I've been sat at home quite a lot, but if I'm playing a lot and I want to be making my YouTube videos still, sometimes I have to make them in a hotel or backstage or whatever. So really handy to have that. I do have charger and spare batteries and things like that. They're in a bigger case that will be in my car, in my bigger bag, in my suitcase, and they're things for kind of having at the hotel and charging your camera overnight. But a camera is always handy to have. Of course, you might just want to use your phone for that, but as I said before, I really don't want to be using my phone for stuff that isn't phone, because then it runs out my battery on my phone and I can't use it for the crucial things that I need. Right, let's have a dig into the little front pocket here. What have I got in here? I have got a banjo spanner. As I say, I also play other instruments, but if you play banjo, one of these is really, really good, but I play the tenor banjo and the 5-string banjo as well. It's just really 3 different sizes of hex nut, well, hex bolt kind of sizes there, and that is for tightening up the head on my banjos, or loosening the head if necessary. Really useful. What else we got? Pliers stroke wire cutters for string changers. More things in here. We've got a capo. This is a very small capo, but it isn't actually a ukulele capo. That is a banjo capo, though it fits on most of my ukes. I don't tend to use a capo on the ukulele, but that goes on my 5-string banjo. Very, very useful. Memory card. If you're carrying things like your camera around, it's always good to have a spare memory card. In here, I have earplugs. Now, if you're playing big festivals, you'll often find they can be very, very noisy places. If you're one of the performers, you might find yourself very, very close to the stage, right behind the speakers. You've got to look after your ears. Also, if you are staying in a hotel and your room is right above the bar or next to the motorway, or if you're camping in a tent at a festival and you just need to get some sleep, these are really going to be worth their weight in gold. Let's keep digging. Now, probably the most important thing in here, tuner. This particular one is a TC Unitune. I also have a Polytune knocking around somewhere. Really nice. They're good quality, but you know what? It doesn't matter what you use. Whichever one you like to have, make sure you've got it with you, because I know that some people will say, oh, you should be able to tune by ear. But the problem is, again, maybe you're at a festival, you're backstage, you're waiting to go on. There's so much noise that you can't hear what you're doing. Clip-on tuner is a nice thing to have because it's just going to give you that extra confidence that you're on tune. Plus, handy for very quick, quiet on-stage tuning too. That said, I do always carry a couple of backups, which is, one of the things is, of course, spare batteries for said tuner, but the old analog tuner, a tuning fork. I've had this one for years. It was my mum's before that, but it's still, every time I check it, still keeps a perfect E note. Very useful, not only for tuning if you haven't got your tuner with you or the battery has died, but on the way home from a gig, you can use that to eat your post-gig Chinese takeaway, which you can't do with an electronic one. So we're nearly there. Hand sanitizer. Now this isn't something I put in just because of COVID and everything around that. I always like to carry that because if you're at a festival, we all know what festival toilets are like and festival facilities. It's always good to have something to be able to wash your hands when you've been hanging around a festival site all day. Or just, you know, you just don't want to have to rush off to the other side of the venue to the loos just to wash your hands. You can grab your hand sanitizer and keep your hands nice and clean. What else do I have in here? Nearly there. I have a little tripod for the camera, which means I can set this up and I can maybe record myself backstage or even set it up somewhere at the side of the stage and record the gig. But very handy to have something to put your camera on. Screwdriver for adjusting things like tuning pegs. Also handy for getting into things that have got a battery compartment and you buy a battery and you were really prepared and you got your battery and you flip the thing open and realise that it's got a tiny little Phillips screw in there that you've got to somehow get out before you can put the new battery in. Pens. Really, really useful. I've got a biro and I've got a Sharpie. Sometimes, yes, people do ask me to sign things like CDs and books, but also they're really good for scribbling down a set list because they make a nice big clear line that you can see when your piece of paper is on the floor. Whereas a biro one, it's a bit of a thin line, not great. But 2 pens for keeping notes and things like that. And of course, if I've got pens, I really need to have some paper. And I've got a few sheets of paper here, and another key thing, set list. So that's the set list from the last gig I did. I've got a printed out set list so that when I get there, I at least know roughly what I'm going to do. And then if I need to change it, I've got the pen. Business cards or flyers, really useful because, you know, people are not necessarily going to have a pen on them or anywhere to write down your website address. You can give them that. When they get home, they'll find that in their pocket and they'll come and check out your website. Almost there, last pocket. I've got in here spare strings, some banjo strings, some ukulele strings. I've got some blue tack because sometimes things blow away and you want to stick your set list down, or sometimes you want to pin something up on the wall or leave a note on a dressing room door. So many uses for that. Really, really good to have that in your bag. Some CDs. Now I would normally have a bigger box of CDs and my books and things on the merch stand, but I always like to keep a few copies in my bag because people will approach you rather than go and find where the merch is on the site. It could be the other side of a festival site, it could be in a hotel, and it could be in another room, in a theatre. So sometimes people will grab you and it's good to just be able to stick your hand in the bag and go, yes, I do have CDs. Finally, the last thing in my bag now, all empty, is some change. Because the number of times you're going to need to park your car, or something needs a coin to operate it, a locker. Some big festivals have lockers and then you can lock your stuff away safely and not have to carry it around all the time. But unless you've got some coins for it, you're not going to be able to use it. So always good to have that in your bag too. So what do you have in your bag when you go and do a gig? Is there anything that you always carry around that I've not got? Let me know in the comments and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.